Angkor Wat, or Angkor Wat, is the largest temple in Cambodia, covering an area of 162.6 hectares, or 1,626,000 meters squared. The structure of the temple is considered one of the greatest architectural wonders of the world, built in the 12th century by King Suryavarman II, a king during the Khmer Empire. The temple was built to dedicate to the Hindu religion of Vishnu, and thus Angkor Wat was considered the largest religious temple in the world according to the Guinness World Records in 1985. Angkor Wat was built in 1122 AD, corresponding to the 12th century, during the reign of King Suryavarman II. The temple was built for his many purposes by dedicating it to the god Vishnu, commemorating his own achievements, and providing a place of refuge for his future death. Angkor Wat was abandoned by the Siamese army in the 14th century by King Paramaraja I of Angkor Wat, who announced the abandonment of Angkor in 1388 CE, according to the genealogy of Cambodian historical records in the 1929 book The Great Khmer, which was translated by Ang Sut in 1969. Angkor Wat continued to be abandoned until King Chentharaja, who led an army to defeat the Siamese in the Angkor region in 1540 CE. Repaired Angkor Wat in the eastern and northern galleries, and another gallery in the north. The upper part of the central tower shows evidence of decoration with 4 Buddha images standing back to back in the 4 cardinal directions, east, west, north, south, which were placed to close the opening of the central tower of the cube, which shows the carving in different styles of the hands of the sculptor. The first European to discover Angkor Wat in 1586 CE was Antonio de Magdalena, was a Portuguese Catholic priest who recorded the discovery of Angkor Wat with the description of his journey into the deep jungle and the discovery of many temples in the jungle with 5 lotus-shaped spires, which inspired him to record this magnificent temple. 3 years later, in 1589 AD, another Portuguese historian named Diogo de Couto discovered the temple in the Angkor area with his description of the features he saw in the temple complex, which looked like a city in the shape of a palace, surrounded by a moat and with 5 bridges over gates, with sculptures in the shape of ropes. The Japanese arrived in the 17th century during the reign of King Paramaraja Sambab through a merchant ship, Kenryo Shimano, from Nagasaki, who discovered Angkor Wat in 1632. He drew a sketch of Angkor Wat along with a drawing of the temple's large complex and a painting of many temple structures. The discovery of Angkor Wat coincides with the historical records of Cambodia, which record the Buddhist asceticism at Nakhon Wat in the name of Angkor Wat in 1630. This is recorded in the Khmer Great Man in 1929, which clearly indicates that Kenryo Shimano was probably a Buddhist missionary. The discovery of Angkor Wat by Charles-Emile Boulavac, a French missionary and explorer, visited Angkor in December 1850 and published an account of his explorations in Cambodia in 1858, 2 years before the arrival of Henry Mohat in 1860 AD. Charlie Emmanuel arrived in Cochinchina in 1849 and continued his explorations and saw Angkor Wat in 1850. A few months later, he stayed with the Phong people in northeastern Cambodia and traveled from Sambon to Ha Tien for 9 days, then stayed in Laos in 1853, returning to Cambodia in 1855, arriving in Battambang province. He then returned to Europe, serving as abbot of the Chokwan from 1867 to 1873. It was not until 1878 that he published his explorations in Cambodia, however his publication was later than that of Henry Mohat, who also published his journal and drawings of Angkor Wat, the first edition of Henry Mohat's famous journey through Indochina. Henry Alexander Mohat was a philosopher, self-portraitist, and naturalist who was born on May 15, 1826 in Montbéliard, France, and died in Napan, Laos, on malaria on November 10, 1861. Henry Mohat's journals and letters to his wife and his brother Charles Mohat, later compiled in the book Voyage dans les royaumes de Siam, de Cambodia et de Laos in 1868, became a sensation for the French public for his description of Angkor Wat, which he had reached in the south in January 1860. If he was not the first Westerner to discover Angkor Wat, his vivid, detailed, and well-written accounts, which were given to him in later times, gave him the reputation of being the rediscoverer of Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat was built in 1122 AD, which corresponds to the 12th century during the reign of King Suryavarman II. The temple was dedicated to the Hindu religion of Vishnu. Angkor Wat is 65 meters high and has 1,532 pillars. It took a total of 300,000 people to build it, covering an area of 162.6 hectares, or 402 acres, and 6,000 elephants to transport the 10 million tons of stone blocks, which took 28 years to build. Angkor Wat is modeled after Mount Meru, the abode of the gods or deities in Hindu mythology. Angkor Wat is a rectangular structure surrounded by a moat that is approximately 16 kilometers long, or 9.8 miles. The actual temple complex is 1,500 meters long by 1,300 meters wide, with a main entrance from the west to the central temple measuring 250 meters and an outer wall of 3.6 satya high, or 2.2 miles long. The length is a series of three-sided towers, each tower rising to a tower that is connected to the other. In the center of the temple stands a quadrilateral row of towers. The top of the temple is shaped like a lotus flower. The top of Angkor Wat has 5 spires representing the 5 khandas, the 5 elements of human existence. Khandas are the phenomena of the 5 senses of man that are the basis of the consciousness of the self. The 5 elements are form, misery, perception, judgment, and conscience. Angkor Wat faces west, representing the cessation of suffering, following the path of the sun, which travels from sunrise in the east to sunset in the west. Angkor Wat is an Angkor II style, which has a distinct art form called Angkor Wat art, where each corner of the temple is carved with intricate carvings. Angkor Wat has approximately 2,000 apsaras, which are magnificent works of art, all of which can be carved in the same size and have some 37 different hairstyles, which can be divided into different hairstyles in an incredible number of ways.
Please help subscribe to the YouTube channel to get more new videos. Thank you.